Hey, YouTube family and GN subs. How are you? Today, I am going to go through the top issues and topics that came up with regard to immigration in 2022. We'll digest them. We'll go through the topics. I'm going to give a prediction as to how these issues will play out in 2023. All right, so we have a lot to get to. Let's get at it. All right, first issue, top issue of the year, the Dreamers and what's happening. Recently, Senators Sinema and Tillis, they have introduced a bill which is gaining some traction. We have lots of big companies that are backing this legislation, and there's a lot of buzz. It's just recent. They just introduced it, and they're thinking because we have control of the Senate now, but we don't have control of the House next year, they're seeing if they can get this through before the end of the year. I think it might happen, folks. I know we've been talking a lot about the Dreamers, right? What is this new legislation? This new legislation basically, and I've seen this, folks. In 1986, there was an amnesty, but here's the deal. In order to get something positive like an amnesty, you have to have some border control. You have to have some type of legislation. In 1986, it was employer sanctions. You know, those I-9 forms that you have to complete today, that's what it was. It was employer sanctions. Employers would be fined for hiring undocumented workers. In exchange, they gave 11 million undocumented immigrants green cards, all right? So there was a give and play. What's in this bill? This bill basically, and again, in 2022, there's been tons of these bills introduced, right? The key is the problem at the border. So strengthen, give money to protect the border, to close it up. Title 42, that was one thing that they used to close the border. So border control, security, etc. Dreamers, get a green card, right? The legislation will allow the Dreamers to procure permanent resident status in the United States. So that's the give and take. What's my take? What do I think? I told you all year, Dreamers are going to get something. So I bet they do, and I'm hoping they do. They deserve it. All right, another big topic in 2022. Boy, TPS, amazing, temporary protected status. Expanded, right? Expanded. Where there are conflicts in the world, our country allows for TPS to protect status. It's deferred status. They get work permits. They can be in the U.S. lawfully. You know, one example everyone knows about is Ukraine, right? There's a war there, so they allow TPS in the United States, a temporary protected status. This past year, we have great court cases that extended TPS for El Salvador, Nepal, Haiti, etc. So lots of countries that were designated. It's been extended, automatic extension of work permits and status, which is amazing. So what's my take on TPS? I say TPS is going to continue. And I've been hearing talk about even allowing individuals in TPS status to remain here permanently. Let's see what happens. That's my take. I'm a positive thinker and I'm a hopeful thinker. So hopefully it works out. We'll see what happens in 2023 with TPS. All right, 2022. I was the first in 2020 to tell you that they are waiving final interviews. Well, in 2022, continued. Waiver of interviews. Here's one point that's huge in 2022, and I want you to continue this in 2023. That is marriage cases, waiver of final interviews. Hear me out, folks. If you submit your application with USCIS with joint documentation to support the bona fides of the marriage, your interview may be waived. I think it's going to continue in 2023. Why? Because there's such a backlog. There's a backlog of cases. Just last week, I got 4 or 5 waiver of final interviews for employment-based cases. Unheard of, folks. Usually on the employment-based cases, there's certainly an interview. Interviews are being waived. What do I think for 2023? Waiver, waiver, waiver. Not only waiver by USCIS, but also at State Department. I've been seeing waivers of interviews, especially for those who have a visa stamp previously in the same category. It's been extended in the U.S. You can mail your passport to the U.S. consulate, and they will put a new stamp in without your physical presence. Waiver of that in-person interview. It's happening. What's my take? 2023. Again, waiver, all the time, baby. Waiver, waiver. All right. All right. I think that we saw in 2022, that was a continuation from 2020 and 2021, was COVID flexibility. I talk about this all the time. And why do I? Because it's very, very important. I think it's so important to be able to prepare an appeal, to prepare an RFE, to prepare a notice of intent to deny. Takes time. Usually, folks, you had 30 days. That's not enough time, right? You got additional time with the COVID flexibility. What's my take? My take is they're going to make it permanent. They're going to make these time frames permanent. I hope so for my clients, for you folks, so you can prepare a good response. You have time to obtain evidence to respond to these notices. So, hey, I think that's going to happen. All right, what we saw in 2022, again, a continuation under Biden, is to get rid of the old harsh rules from the Trump administration. Not easy to do, folks, I'm telling you, but what I have seen is positive policy, right? Usually the way that I see it is in decisions that are being made where there's discretion, right? At immigration, officers have unfettered discretion to make decisions. I see them now making positive discretionary decisions, which is really, really good. I see it at State Department. Really, really unfettered discretion to make decisions. I see them leaning towards making more decisions that are favorable. Immigration now is about inclusion, not exclusion. So I see that continuing in 2023. We have a good administration. Hey, folks, we got the Senate. We won the Senate 51-49. So I think we're going to have some good legislation. We'll be able to move it through the House. That's wonderful. I'm looking forward to 2023. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful holiday season. And we'll see you back here in 2023. Hey, thanks so much for watching GrayLaw TV. Click below, like and subscribe, ring the bell, get our content notification. Go to the playlist. There's some really good videos in the playlist that are organized. It'll teach you how to do certain things, mock interviews. I have time and time again my clients say, God, I went into that interview with so much confidence because of your videos. All right, we'll see you next time. Take care.